Last time we took a look at a genre of video games I like to call the capture and customize critter craze. Since then, I've come across a few other games that I feel are worthwhile to mention since they fit so well into the capture and customize category. Only this time, they're on home console, specifically the Nintendo GameCube. But before we continue, I should briefly talk about this other bizarre little game I found right after filming the last video. And you know I love me some bizarre and weird games.
Robopon. Look at its shape. It reminds me of the cartridges with the rumble packs like the Star Wars Episode 1 Racer or the Kirby Tilt and Tumble cart.
Actually, weird cartridges sounds like a cool idea for the next video. And the reason for the odd shape can be attributed to my favorite little bee, Hudson. Rest in peace, Hudson Soft.
Hudson Soft.
Rest in peace.
I hate to say it, but Robopon is a blatant Pokemon ripoff. From the player-controlled character sprites to how you get your first critter. But what it does have going for it is the weird robot monsters you can get. They're just goofy. I personally don't like the visuals all that much, and to me that's saying a lot for a Game Boy game. The backgrounds are just too flat and the monster designs are a tad bland, but it is my favorite part of the game, seeing new robots, as there are some cooler designs, but overall just uninspired.
The game utilizes a feature Hudson developed called GB Kiss. It was a feature implemented into the cartridge itself that allowed for two different games to communicate via infrared. And another cool feature that this allowed for was you could take a TV remote that communicated in infrared and send the infrared signals directly into the cartridge that could power up your little buddies. Though in the game there are a number of exploits that make grinding and leveling up your characters super trivial, so this in itself was actually kind of pointless as well. There's also an in-game clock which allowed for timed events and timed evolutions. There's a speaker directly implemented onto the board itself which notified the players of different oncoming events. I think this was implemented into other games at that time, mostly Hudson Soft games, which implemented this speaker system. I think there was mainly just Japanese Tamagotchi exclusive games only though, so this didn't really see much use outside of Japan.
Anyway, this game was universally panned for just being a clone of Pokemon, and aside from the similarities I mentioned before, there's also an Elite 8, two different versions with version exclusive monsters, Sun and Star, and not 150 or more to see, not 151, but 153 different robots to collect.
Way to go above and beyond. You see, the biggest issue with this though was with the version exclusives. When localizing the game, Atlas opted to ignore the Star version and only give us the Sun version, making it virtually impossible to complete the entire Pokédex. Though I do believe that the Japanese versions, being the Sun version, can communicate still directly with the versions that we got here, so there's that way. But enough about Robopon, let's take a look at our first game of the day, Custom Robo. Actually, my first experience with this series was with Custom Robo Arena on the Nintendo DS, which actually was the 5th game in the series of the mostly Japanese exclusive games.
And I say mostly because while we did get the GameCube game here first, that's actually the 4th game in the series, starting with Custom Robo in Japan for the N64. What a great title screen. The short music cue, the awesome robots, and the colors. The game starts off with a flashback dialogue of our player character chatting with their long-lost father about a birthday gift he leaves us, a mysterious watch. He then takes off to solve a problem apparently only he can deal with, tells us to become a commander, and bam, it's the future. An old head tells us we need to make up the rent money, and holy cow, is this my room? What do I need rent money for? It looks like I'm loaded. I mean, my dad did leave me money, right?
Yes, my dad left me a fortune, but apparently I'm too old to be relying on that. So at the behest of the landlady, I go get a job as a bounty hunter.
Well, we need to become a commander because it was our dad's dying wish or disappearing wish. We make our way to the bounty hunter's office and... That's the stuff of nightmares. The leader of the Steel Hearts has some reservations about hiring us especially about the part where we don't even have our own custom robo. Who even does that anymore?
Yeah, I should probably explain.
In this world, commanders are people who control tiny robots called custom robos. They imprint themselves via an ocular scan, and then they jump into the Holosseum, a holographic battlefield where combat happens. Here's the funny part though. They just stand there staring at each other.
Could you imagine if that's how it really went down? If we played Super Smash Brothers that way? What are you guys doing? Shh, we're playing Smash Brothers. Ugh.
Our man Harry gets knocked out and drops the new custom robo we're here to protect. We eye scan the little cube to register the robo to ourselves, and battle time. I love the designs of the robos in this game. They're so busy and robust, very intricate.
Combat is pretty cool. There's a lot of strategy and movement techniques involved. Plus, at the end of the battles, normally you can gain a new part for your custom robo. Did you know that they have actually held tournaments for this game in the past? One of the CEOs, there was a whole category for custom robo on the GameCube. If you couldn't tell yet, I love the kind of games or shows where you build and customize something and pit it against your peers. I grew up launching and battling Beyblades and battling it out on the playgrounds, and though there is a lot of luck involved in Beyblades, a huge appeal is mixing and matching different parts to create custom builds and then pit that against your friends' custom builds and just wipe the floor with them. And skill, there is some skill involved. I've actually competed in a few local Beyblade tournaments, and Takara Tomy, the manufacturers of Beyblade, are trying to make it more of a scene. You see, they're calling it gear sports, where competitors use specialized equipment to perform the actions that they're trying to do. In most cases, it's custom and unique. And another huge part of my childhood, which I mentioned in the last video, was Metabots. I also said how we only got 3 games here in the States, and today we're going to take a look at one I mentioned last time, Metabots Infinity.
Of course, the intro for a Metabots game is gonna go hard. The 3D animations could use some work, but it's obviously no 2D sprite art, but it's fine. That title music is always a joy to hear. The voice actors are also different from the show, but Mr. Referee is still played by good old Dennis Akiyama.
Though if I really think about it, they probably just reused voice lines either from other games or from the show, because Mr. Referee doesn't do much else besides announce battles and completions of battles, so shoot.
Anyway, the premise this time puts Iki and the gang at Toru Toruland, a theme park where a race is underway involving puzzles and battles against other racers in the competition. Our first battle is against Erica and Brass.
This battle actually allows us to get a feel for what the controls are going to be like, since Brass just runs around and shoots back at us every so often. Here's the issue. The controls are buns.
Yeah, it's so slow and cumbersome. No wonder it was so heavily criticized when it was first released. But I'll bite. Let's just work with what we've got. Maybe the worst part is the controls. Oh, did you see my sick MLG skills?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That was neat.
After the intro battle, we're able to move around the theme park where our first mission takes us through to the forest area. Oh, here's a tree with a door on it. Oh, it's a battle? Actually, it's a stage where all you need to do is get to the end. All the while you can find new meta parts and try to be the contestant with the highest points. However, I came across this part in the map where I could not figure out where I needed to go. Wait, you just walk through it? I later also found out that you could just jump over it. So it's kind of like a dungeon crawler. You explore the different rooms and sometimes find new gear. I can get behind that, but man, the enemies take forever to kill. Like look at this. It's so tedious and deliberate. Okay, almost done. What's over here? I died?
Leave it to me.
Where you are standing now.
No, I will not let the first stage beat me. Wouldn't it be too bad if the enemies died faster or if my weapons were stronger at least? I'm at a loss for words. How did this get approved? Who looked at this and said, yeah, this is gonna hook the kids? As a huge Metabots fan, if I would have received this, popped it into my GameCube and sat down to play it, I would have been flabbergasted, smeckledorfed.
What is rather redeeming though is the new gear you get in the stages actually help you out to repeat the same stage and cross over to new areas. The tiptoe legs I got helped me jump farther and longer, so now I can reach across the river and get more points just so I could be first on the offline leaderboard.
Okay, so it's not the worst game I've played. In fact, if I really took the time, I could probably get used to its deliberateness. In fact, I went back to replay this stage just to kind of get a feel for the controls, and I'm realizing it really shouldn't be played like an action adventure combat game. It should be played more like a positionally strategic game. It's weird, but I like that kind of stuff. Our last game is probably the embodiment of the collect, capture, customize, with a hint of obscurity and weirdness that my channel stands for. That game is Gacha Force.
Honestly, I have nothing but positive things to say about Gacha Force, so for the rest of the video, I'm just gonna gush. Check out this sick anime intro. It reminds me a lot of Mega Man NT Warrior. Or does anyone remember Cubics? Robots for everyone? Something like that? No? Anyway, we assume the role of Ko, an energetic schoolboy who meets G-Red, a good-hearted Gacha Borg who tracked the evil Death Force to Earth, and together they formed Gacha Force. Along the way, we meet other kids who have come across their own Gacha Borgs and form alliances with Ko and crew.
Gacha Force was released to such small acclaim and very minimal advertisement, so much so to the point that it's become a cult classic. And in fact, in this condition, complete in box with manual, nice condition, outer case, it's pretty rare and rather expensive. There was actually a line of toys exclusive to Japan which are incredibly rare. In fact, these photos are the only known photos that kind of prove that the toy line even existed. Then 9 years later, after the original release, Capcom decided to re-release it for the GameCube, even though by that time the Wii had already been out for some time. That just goes to show that people started to realize that this game's actually pretty good. Now, of all the good things I could say about this game, there's just one little nitpick, and that's the voice acting. It's so bad. Like a House of the Dead level of voice acting. It feels like the English localizers just took their kids, put them in a recording booth and say, read the line. And the kids copied them and started, oh no, don't go there. Oh man.
They are the Death Force. They are an evil Gacha-born corpse that fight only to conquer and destroy.
You'll move from encounter to encounter across an overworld map by just moving the cursor over to the next area with either a character portrait or the Death Force logo.
I might as well be playing Risk and vying for power between Southern Europe, Egypt, and North Africa. And that's a minor gripe because the best part of the game is the combat.
However, on the map you can edit and customize your squad. After one of your Borgs is destroyed in combat, it will be replaced by one of your backups. And rare, more powerful Borgs cost more points to add to your ranks. Examining a Borg pulls up its stats, but it also pulls up its move list. You'll notice the B button is assigned 2 attacks, but that just means depending on the range and distance from an enemy, the B button changes its attack type, long range or close combat. You can quickly flick the control stick in a direction to dash or dodge, and in quick succession to dash dodge across the stage.
As a whole, the game is fantastic. I love the controls, the movement is crisp, and it's so smooth. So that was 4 more games that fit into my capture, customize, and critter craze category. Let me know of any games that you can think of that might fit into that style of games. Actually, I was talking to a buddy of mine earlier and he mentioned Amazing Island. Have you guys played that? It's for the GameCube. I looked it up and it looked fun. It definitely looked right up my alley. It's kind of cheap and I might have to pick it up. But until next time, I'll see you guys later.